In this video, my 10 pieces of advice for those new to electric bikes. And this video is sponsored by Electric. More on them a little later though. I've had this conversation so many times and now I will have a video to point people to. Usually the conversation goes a little bit like this. Hello?
Hey there, is this Ryan?
Yes, this is.
Hey, I was checking out some of these electric bicycles and I had a few questions for you. I don't know where to start. I haven't ridden a bike in 20 years since YouTube's was invented. That's what you do, right? Do you got a second to answer my questions?
Yeah, I have plenty of time to distill everything I know about electric bikes that I've learned in the last 6 years.
Hey hon, let's take the casserole out. Let me put you on speaker.
Okay, let me put you on speaker as well. All joking aside, this is basically the conversation I have all the time. And if we've missed anything, let me know in the comments section and we can use your ideas for the subject of a future video. Before we start talking about the models, my recommendation is you should really decide on the buying experience and the support experience that you're looking for. So you really have 3 different options here. You can buy direct to consumer online, get an e-bike shipped right to your door. Just note that there's going to be some assembly and you may or may not have local support options. Kind of depends on your local area of whether a bike shop is going to look at a direct to consumer brand. That's not to say that there aren't some direct to consumer brands that actually work with bike shops. And usually if you go this route, this means that you're not going to be able to ride the bike before you buy. So you might want to check out some of my YouTube videos. The other option is to go in store. You probably have a bike shop near you that sells brands like Trek, Specialized, Giant, some of the name brands. Just know that you're gonna spend a little bit more, but on the flip side, if you're a little bit uncomfortable on assembly since you haven't ridden a bike in a long time, that might be a great option for you. And then you have the best of both worlds. There's certainly some brands that sell online but also sell at local bike shops. And you'll just have to look up to see if one of these brands is available near where you live. The 2 names that come to mind here are Aventon and Velotric. And this is where a lot of the people that I talk to like you end up because they really want to have that in-store experience. They want to touch the bike. Maybe they want to take a test ride before they buy their electric bike. Or maybe they have a friend or other family member that already owns, say, an Aventon and they've test ridden it and they like it. So now they just can order online. They feel comfortable shipping it to their house, assembling it. But in case they have any issues with the motor, battery, they need regular maintenance, they have a place to take it with the local bike shop. And the nice thing about these omni-channel brands or brands that are offered both online and in store is that they're not charging a significant premium for the luxury of being able to see and test ride an electric bike before you purchase. I kind of view this as a decision tree. Decide where you want your purchase to be before you start talking about brands and models, so it's a great place to start. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is that electric bikes can be heavy. It's something to keep in mind, especially if you don't get to ride an electric bike before you buy an electric bike. Some of these fat tire e-bikes can be 70, 80 plus pounds, and if you haven't been on a bike in a while, you might not feel super comfortable on a very heavy electric bike. And also if you're on the shorter end or you plan to share your electric bike, it's just going to be more easy if you have a lighter weight electric bike. And for the most part, what I see, this is really when people get on their electric bike and get off. Once you kind of get rolling, the weight disappears beneath you with the help of the motor. So you might want to prioritize a lighter weight electric bike with a smaller motor, perhaps a smaller battery, rather than trying to go with the biggest battery and biggest motor, because those 2 things mean lots of weight. That brings me to my next point. Bigger is not always better, specifically related to the motor. I always tell people that you should respect an electric bike before you hop on one for the first time because These motors can be powerful, and there's also some controls that you might not be familiar with. A lot of these bikes have throttles, so you need to be aware of all the functionality. And if you're not prepared for it, some of these bikes can take off if you start pedaling or maybe accidentally hit the throttle. But even while you're riding at speeds, there are a few brands that I like to recommend specifically because their pedal assist is very accessible. Pedal assist level 1 just feels like a very gentle boost. The extra weight of the bike kind of disappears beneath you. That's compared to other electric bikes in pedal assist level 1 that just give you a ton of power that you might not be ready for as a new electric bike rider. So no matter which e-bike that you pick out, make sure you respect it and make sure you understand all the controls before you hop on. Watch some instructional videos. That's going to make sure that you don't end up injured, which obviously can ruin your e-bike experience. Trust me, I've seen it. Next, every brand is not equal. There's a reason that we focus on the brands on our YouTube channel, so that's a good place generally to start with brands that we personally believe in. This means, yes, I don't recommend that you go on Amazon and just buy the cheapest e-bike from a brand that I've never heard of and most people have never heard of. One, obviously, safety, UL certifications. You don't know whether they went through a rigorous testing, and some of these brands are here today, gone tomorrow. And if you watch our channel, don't worry, that doesn't mean you still can't find an affordable electric bike. Another thing to keep in mind with some of these Amazon or no-name e-bike brands is that while you might see positive reviews online, maybe they're real, maybe they're fake, you might find people in Facebook groups that have a positive experience, but just keep in mind, if they've never had issues, they've never had to deal with the company, and that's something that should be a big consideration in your purchase decision. Next, yes, the term that we use to describe these are electric bikes or e-bikes. That means, yes, they have pedals. I am not talking about a Sur-Ron or a Talaria, a throttle only, what sometimes are referred to electric bikes, but they don't actually have pedals. They also don't normally fit into a classification. In a lot of areas, they can be illegal to ride. And yes, because it does have pedals, you can still get a workout. You can turn pedal assist off if you really want to make it difficult on yourself. More often though, you're at least going to be in pedal assist level 1 and stepping up from there. Just view it as either getting to your destination faster or going on longer rides than you otherwise would. One thing my family likes to do is replace car trips with our electric bikes because there's no excuse. You could throttle the whole way if you want to and not get any workout, but inevitably you're going to put in some effort, which is certainly better than just sitting in your car, especially if you're just driving a large vehicle by yourself. That's just not an efficient way to get from point A to point B. And as you begin your e-bike shopping with various brands and models, you're going to see that they top out at 20 miles per hour as a class 2 electric bike. That's going to be with a throttle. If it's class 1, that's up to 20 but no throttle. And then class 3 is up to 28 miles per hour. Some of those bikes will still have throttles, but it still will stop at 20 miles per hour. Next, yes, a lot of electric bikes have throttles. Now, just because it has one, it doesn't mean you need to use it. I really like to use throttles when I need it the most. Some examples might be when you need that extra boost to go up a hill and you want to make sure you're getting maximum power from the motor. You can also still pedal alongside a throttle, so that's something to keep in mind if you're going up a steep hill. I use throttles a lot from a stop to get through a stoplight. Sometimes having a throttle also just makes riding in traffic a little bit safer because you can keep up better with traffic. And a lot of people like to rely on throttles just to get started. You just use that throttle a little bit just to get you rolling enough to start pedaling. Again, e-bikes are heavy, so maybe taking that first pedal stroke can be difficult, but having the throttle there just gets you going and then you can start your pedaling. As you're diving into some of these specific specifications, you're undoubtedly going to see battery sizes and you're going to start comparing battery sizes across different models. Now, in my opinion, the reality, especially for those new to electric bikes, is that basically every single electric bike has enough battery. I believe most e-bike riders are going around 10 miles at a time, especially those new to electric bikes. And basically every battery is going to give you enough range to do 10 miles. And most of them, many more than that, even some of the smaller or 10 amp hour batteries. Now, if you're planning for 40+ mile rides, yes, then maybe you want to pay a little bit more attention to the battery size, maybe pick up a second battery, or maybe just purchase an electric bike with 2 batteries from the start. At this point, you have a decent amount of background to at least start looking at brands and models. My next piece of advice is you don't need to spend a lot. In my opinion, almost everyone who's buying their first electric bike probably doesn't need to spend more than $2,000. In fact, if you're brand new and you don't even know if you're going to ride it a ton, you should probably spend around $1,000. The cheapest bike that we recommend on the channel is just $799. It's the Electric XP Lite from Lectric, and yes, it's lightweight, has a smaller motor. A lot of the things that we already talked about being some of the benefits for your first e-bike. In fact, Lectric is the main choice for those purchasing their first electric bike. They have 2 other models at $999, the Electric XP 3.0, as well as the Electric Express. Choose that one if you're looking for a more traditional frame design, a diamond style, or perhaps a step through for increased accessibility. Both of those $999 e-bikes are going to check most of the boxes that most people have: plenty powerful motors, plenty of battery, hydraulic disc brakes, all the safety features. Now, Lectric is a direct-to-consumer brand. That's why their prices are so good. So if you need that in-store experience, maybe you do want to spend a little bit more and go with a brand like Aventon. And speaking of budget, yes, you should for sure budget for some accessories. Some of these, in my opinion, are essential. Other ones are more creature comforts. For instance, a bike mirror. I think everyone needs to have one, especially if you're riding in traffic. It's just so important to see what's going on behind you for safety. You might even consider something like a bike bell or perhaps a horn. Of course, everyone should be riding with a helmet, and prices range wildly depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a specific e-bike helmet, go with a e-bike helmet that's rated to NTA 8776. That's the designation for electric bicycles for speeds up to 28 miles per hour. The helmets are designed to handle that. And probably don't use the helmet that's been sitting in the corner of your garage for 20 years. Other common accessories include cell phone mounts, bags, fenders if your bike doesn't come with them, a battery bag if you plan to transport. Speaking of traveling, you might need a cockpit cover to cover some of the electronics. You might even need a bike rack, and some of them can be expensive because they need to be able to hold the additional weight of an electric bike. Now, I'm a little bit biased, but you can check out some of the high quality accessories that we offer at shop.ebikeescape.com. We also have a full e-bike accessories list that might be helpful. And finally, don't let anyone tell you that e-bikes are cheating. Getting outside, getting some exercise is never a bad thing. And especially if you haven't ridden a bike for 20 years, good for you for getting out there. I've heard some pretty amazing stories from people who have purchased an electric bike and made some drastic changes health-wise, and that's why we do what we do here at Ebike Escape. And yeah, keep me updated. What make and model did you decide on? I hope you love it. Let me know if you have any other questions. And yes, just to reiterate it, no, e-bikes are not cheating.
Oh, okay, gotcha. E-bikes aren't cheating. Got my notes down. Thank you. I'll be sure to use your link in the description to support your YouTubes. Appreciate the help. And yes, I'll subscribe and like your video as well.